Hello, everyone. Our presentation is entitled Indonesian Language Teaching in the Netherlands. These are the aims of our study. So why are we discussing Indonesian language teaching in the Netherlands? Indonesia and the Netherlands have had a long history. The colonial past has made Indonesian people traveled to the Netherlands and resided there. And so now we have a vast number of Indonesian diaspora in the Netherlands. And because of colonialism as well, the long contact between Indonesian and the Dutch people had made the existence of many Dutch words or many Dutch loanwords in Indonesian, and vice versa. We also have a lot of Indonesian words in Dutch. Other than that, Indonesian language has become more important in the globalization era. And in this study, we're going to use a qualitative approach. We will describe the data which were collected through reflection notes and also through interviews with several involved parties. And these are the involved parties. So the first one is the teacher. So we look at the reflection notes made by a former teacher, which is actually the first author in this study. That's me. So I was living in the Netherlands for several years, and I was teaching in a number of Indonesian language courses there. And we also look at some inputs from someone with the authority role, which is the education and cultural attaché of the Indonesian embassy in The Hague, the Netherlands. We did an interview with him through Zoom. And we also talked to two former students, and they have completed an Indonesian language course in the Netherlands.
There are several private institutions all over the Netherlands which offering Indonesian language or BIPA courses. However, they are not yet well organized and not well connected to each other. And it becomes the work of Indonesian embassy to connect them together. And then other than private institutions holding up the Indonesian language course, there are also courses in universities. However, this is not part of the campus programs. And the condition of the students in the Netherlands is that they are very interested in Indonesian language course, especially when it is free. And why they are interested in Indonesian language course? Because they have purposes like business or social activities to do, which related to Indonesian people to work with. So they need to know at least basic Indonesian. Other than that, family roots background also becomes the motivation of them to know and to learn more about Indonesian language. With that condition, Indonesian embassy works on a lot of things to provide the Indonesian language course. Firstly, by creating a database of BIPA teachers or Indonesian language teachers in the Netherlands. By creating a database, it is important for Indonesian embassy. So when they need the teachers, they can contact them directly. And with that being said, Indonesian embassy has conducted a meeting that resulting in agreement on establishing a forum for all teachers. So Indonesian embassy wants to gather them and then make the communication a lot better. So all the teachers together with the MC can work together in providing Indonesian language courses. And also another project that Indonesian MC and the teachers are working on is to create a BIPA materials that is specifically in European or Netherlands context. The second works that has been done by the Indonesian MC is synergizing all the private institutions all over the Netherlands. This is another thing that has been done was Indonesian language course in 2019 that has been successfully done in 4 different cities. And in 2020, Indonesian MC plan to have more cities to have this course. However, because of the hit of COVID-19 pandemic, it needs to be cancelled in some cities. And another works that has been done was free courses, free Indonesian language courses that was actually part of marketing strategy to promote Indonesian language course through a free course. It was done with the aim that more Dutch people know and familiar with Indonesian language course. Then if they want to take higher level, they can contact the private institutions in their cities. However, this work that has been done also met a lot of challenges along the way. The available of the number of the teachers becomes something that the MC needs to work on, because the number of teacher is not well spread all over the Netherlands. We plan to have a workshop of teaching methodology, and can encourage teacher to more teacher to join the courses, to teach the courses, more courses. And okay, so from the perspective of students, they want to speak in Indonesian language whenever there are Indonesians around them, or anyone who can speak Indonesian. They just want to communicate with the language. That's why they take the course. Other than that, they also want to learn more formal setting, more formal Indonesian language in formal setting. And then with that motivation, the learning experience they had in the class was very good, very enjoyable. The learning experience was that they believed that the role of teacher in the class was very important, because this is learning a language. They need more input. They need someone to check their pronunciation. That's why the role of teacher is very important for them. And it also related to the amount spent on independent learning. They don't spend as much time as they did in class. That's why the learning, the independent learning, for them is less important, because they rely so much on teacher. And then from the perspective of the material, they think that the material was very interesting, of course, and the size of the class is very important for them as well, because they want to get more attention from the teacher. They want to have more interaction with the teacher as well and friends. So small size class is very perfect for them.
So it was really hard for the students to pick up the material if the lessons were given fully in Indonesian. So English was used, but it turns out that it was not a big problem because the students were able to speak English fluently. So English was a perfect language of instruction. And another thing that was reflected in the teacher's note was that many students have personal ties with Indonesia. So they tried to learn Indonesian as a heritage language. And the age of the participants varied. And an interesting fact is that most of these students have already visited Indonesia. And some of these people have work or business relations with Indonesia. So another point of view from the teacher highlights that the position of Indonesia as a heritage language helps the students acquire certain words and phrases that they already learned when they were young. But probably they stopped learning Indonesian because they had to go to formal education in the Netherlands. So they switched to full Dutch and then they forgot Indonesian as their heritage language. But the teacher also provided some notes on the advantages of knowing Dutch and then learning Indonesian. So Dutch loanwords in Indonesian help them to acquire vocabulary. So for example, words like handuk or kantor are taken from Dutch. So when they recognize this Dutch loanwords in Indonesian, they became much more confident in memorizing and also learning Indonesian vocabulary. And Indonesian way of pronouncing the alphabet is quite similar to Dutch. So in Dutch, they also spell A, B, and C. It's similar to in Indonesian. So when they learned how to pronounce these alphabets, they also became much more motivated. And Indonesian also have simpler vowel systems than the Dutch. And Indonesia is a phonetic language, meaning that, and there are also some similarity in expressing time in Dutch and also in Indonesian. And there are also some challenges. For example, Indonesian does not have grammatical tense aspect marker. We usually express this tense aspect and marker in Indonesian using a specific vocabulary or specific lexicon. But Dutch is similar to English. They have a grammatical tense aspect marker. So it is quite difficult for Dutch people to understand the function of words like sudah, tadi, or lagi. Yeah, so Indonesian phonology can also be confusing. For example, the use of Indonesian consonants such as H in the word final position, and also the filler nasal in initial position. And also there is overlap in the spelling system. For example, the alphabet J is pronounced as J in Indonesian, but it is pronounced as Y in Dutch. So we, after looking at the notes and also interview from the involved parties, we can say that there is a high motivation of students in the Netherlands to learn Indonesian. And there are differences between the two languages, of course, but they can either be an advantage or a hindrance. So the language transfer should be a consideration. There's a good support system from the authority. And if we have to give some insights from the lessons that we have learned, there is a need to develop teaching and learning materials that specifically address the background of the learners, and the techniques and strategies in explaining difficult points in the language